Welcome back, everybody. Derek Sue, your East Oakland advocate for Zenny 62 Media. Today, I want to talk about uh, the California firestorms. The Southern California firestorms is just ravaging um, Los Angeles, and a lot of devastating news coming out of there. I've got friends that live down in the Los Angeles area. They've marked themselves safe because uh, several of them are in San Pedro, so away from the fire and closer to the Long Beach Harbor. So um, they're safe, but they're all saying it's like it's snowing there from the ash fallout from what's happening just north of them and north and northeast of them. And then I have friends in downtown Los Angeles saying the same thing. It's snowing ash in downtown Los Angeles. So uh, I want to think or go back to the 1991 Oakland firestorm because I had a lot of friends that lived in that fire zone, and they were devastated. A lot of these folks, um, they lost their home, they lost everything. I had many friends that lived in the Oakland Hills. The most probably the most renowned in Oakland was Richard Jung. He owned at the time the second largest Chinese restaurant in the Oakland Chinatown, and it was named the Lantern. And it was on Webster Street, 8th and Webster. Now the building is occupied by Asian Health Services. That was Richard Jung's um, business that his father started in the 50s. So things happen, and um, I I remember speaking to him uh, the next day after receiving the news because he was sleeping at the restaurant at that point because on Sunday his home went up in flames. His wife called him at the restaurant before operating hours. This was about 8:15. He said that a fire is rushing up the hills and they're telling people to evacuate. So by the time it was only 15 minutes from the restaurant back to Hiller Highlands, because that's where they live, in Hiller Highlands, and he could not get back in there. Police and fire had sealed off everything, and everybody was only coming out. So he lost everything. And one of the things that prized possession that he lost in that fire was an original Datsun 240Z in prime condition. It was a show car that Richard Jung had. And Richard Jung was a longtime family friend. It was sad seeing the fire devastating the home, and that was the security for the loans that were on the business. And the business ended up in bankruptcy, and he ended up losing the business because he lost his stability, his home. And that was part of the assets of the loans for his business. And then I had friends that lived or actually worked, two couples worked at the Claremont Hotel, and they rented a home literally in sight of the Claremont Hotel where they worked, and everybody knew it. And when the announcements came, they literally just watched their home burn up. And so that was two couples that ended up leaving the state and went back to, I believe it was Ohio. But anyway, these fires are devastating. And one of the things that I've been advocating is for when the build back comes, because there's going to be a cleanup period. I drove all of these friends to go see what was left of their homes, and if there's anything to recover. And it was pretty devastating. And the reason why I was able to get in there was because I was a new contractor for Department of Defense, and so my credentials allowed me to go into areas because I was a federal agent for the government, essentially. And so, anyway, I was going through there looking at the devastation, and it's pretty traumatic. I never had seen anything like this before. Everything was burned. There was foundations, there was chimneys, and things that were made of steel survived. So take note of that. Things of steel survived, like car bodies, shells, uh, barbecues were pretty common, stoves, ovens, refrigerators, things that had steel bodies. The insides and everything were usually burned out, but the steel was intact. So make note of that. And once things are cleaned up, they don't want people going in there because there's a lot of toxins. So it's going to be weeks, months, maybe even a year before people are able to start rebuilding. Just like here in Northern California, through the wine countries, we had these big fires, and some of the families that elected to stay went with a different build back model. And so they built homes that were highly fire resistant. And I say highly fire resistant because nothing is absolutely fireproof, but the new models uh, are including a company called Arched Cabins, and then and there's a lot of others that use steel framing, steel siding. And then you're probably saying, well, I don't like the look of steel. Well, things have changed a lot, and they can make steel look like wood. They can make steel look like rock. They can color it in a fashion where it's permanently on there. You never have to worry about it other than maybe washing it down, for aesthetics. And that's it. The maintenance is very uh, easy and light. And one of the things that we have to think about going into the future, especially we've seen it here in Oakland where people have been getting shot through the walls of their homes. Imagine a home that has a high level of bullet resistance, where you can actually survive a gunfight happening outside. And that's the type of buildings we're talking about. And you're saying, well, maybe it'll slow it down. No, the insulation is the next problem with the old school of construction. The insulation burns. Believe me, it goes up faster than you can imagine. And it's sitting behind a flammable product called wood. And your siding is wood. And so there's just a lot of different things about this. With steel, you have a high level of fire resistance and melt resistance. With the new insulation called rock wool, it's made out of mineral. It's literally made out of the same type of materials like rock, but it's made differently. And it costs a little bit more, but it's denser, and it does not burn. It is not flammable. You can put a direct flame, a blowtorch to this for 1 hour, and it will not burn. So, and then also the good thing about that, it has a high level of heat retention or heat resistance. In this case, it would be the equivalent to um, an R60 insulation in your walls. And so that's going to buy you a lot of time in fire resistance, since number one, the outer layer is not a flammable or combustible surface. The insulation is non-combustible. And then we have the third layer, which is your firewall and vapor barrier, which is a double 5/8 sheetrock wall that seals everything in. and that's your vapor barrier. And these are all new, modern construction models built for fire zones and for high fire resistance. And they're also earthquake safe because, number one, they're far lighter than old construction with wood, because we're using steel studs throughout all the construction, which is significantly less weight and much more sustainable and also recyclable. And then the demand on our trees, our throughout our nation, will greatly be diminished because we won't need the wood if we're using steel as the main components in constructing homes. And so uh, what we're doing, we're constructing the outer fireproof, uh, in other words, a real firewall, and a fireproof roof. So we build the real firewall, and then inside, that's where the construction is significantly different. And that's where you build the home. It's an open design, and you can pretty much construct anything. All your pipes, electrical, everything come up from underneath the slabs, and that way the chance of fire damage and is greatly reduced. But here's the other thing. We can also build in other safety features as automatic closing shutters, which are made from steel frames and terracotta, which offers a very high level of fire resistance and heat resistance, so that in the event that you're caught in your home with the fire around you, with just a simple flick of a switch, those shutters can close and seal in the home and increase your survivability. These are new models, and people are saying, well, why aren't we doing this now? It's because we don't have enough contractors willing to look at new technologies because they're stuck in antiquated models. But we need to have cities uh, approve these models in record numbers, because these are models that increase the likelihood of survivability, and also it lowers the cost. These steel homes are significantly less money than the wood stick-built homes. We're talking about a standard 600 square foot home for about $18,000 for the exterior. And then the interior, you build out whatever you want. But the exterior, your firewall and your fire roof, is around anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000 for a two-story, uh, all steel frame and steel-sided building. And then from there, things will go significantly better to make it even more fire resistant, fireproof. The other good thing about that, if there's a fire inside the home, that fire is contained. It is highly unlikely to get out of the home or breach any portion of the home, because you have the 1 hour fire vapor wall that is containing the inside. So that will keep the fire well contained and controlled. And then we can add sprinkler systems into that open space design and really control fires. So there's a lot of new modern technologies that need to be employed and to be implemented into the buildbacks of these homes. And that will likely change the minds of the insurance agencies that are struggling with all of these burned homes in California. And we're talking several billions and possibly into double-digit trillions of dollars of loss here in the SoCal fires. And then if you add in all the other fires that California has had, it makes sense to look at these new technologies and these new fireproof models. Thanks for joining me today on Zinni 62 Media.